Zero, one. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Reinvention Room. I'm Mel. So today's episode has been sitting with me for a few days, and I finally feel ready to talk about it because I think it touches something that quietly steals years from people's lives. And most of us don't even notice it's happening. It's this idea that we're all supposed to want the exact same thing: the bigger house, the nicer car, more followers, a higher salary, more money, just more. And then one day you look up and you're out of breath from running as fast as everyone else, and you realize you never once stopped to ask yourself a real simple question: do I even want this life? Not the version somebody told you that you should want, not the version social media decided counts as success. I mean, the one that actually belongs to you. And here's what I've been sitting with: not every path is supposed to lead to becoming rich. Some paths are supposed to lead to becoming fulfilled. And sometimes, sure, those two paths cross, but a lot of the time they don't. And I think we owe it to ourselves to figure out which one we're actually on. So this is the lie that we learn. We're taught we're taught this from when we're little. Success looks like working harder, right? Making more money, being successful means buying nicer things, always climbing. And if you're not climbing, the story goes you must be falling, right? There's no in between in that version of the world. But it's such a dangerous way to move through life because you can't, I mean, think about it like this. You can spend 30 years climbing a ladder and get to the top only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall the entire time. And look, some of the richest people on this planet are miserable. I mean, genuinely unhappy. If you're unhappy without money, you're going to be unhappy with it, you know? Some some who barely have two nickels to rub together laugh every single day, like they don't have a worry in the world. Maybe neither one of those things proves anything on its own. Money doesn't guarantee happiness. We know that. Being broke doesn't automatically make you wise or grounded. We know that. Life is just a lot messier and more complicated than either extreme wants us to believe. So let's be honest about money. And I'm not saying this is not an episode about not wanting money or not wanting to be rich or listen, if that's what you want, go for it. But before you think that I'm about to tell you money doesn't matter, let me stop you right there because I'm not anti money, not even a little bit. I love nice things. I would love to travel to Italy someday. I would love to sit in beautiful restaurants and not look at the prices. I would love to help my kids in bigger ways. I would love to help my mom. I would love to wake up and never once think about a bill again. Money absolutely matters, okay? It gives us options, it gives us freedom, it lets us help the people we love. It takes a certain kind of stress off our shoulders that's hard to describe, right? Unless you've lived without it. But here's the shift that happened somewhere along the way, and I think it happened to almost all of us without us noticing it. Money stopped being a tool and started becoming proof. Proof that we mattered. Proof that we made it. proof that we're worth something. And that's exactly where we get lost, because a tool is supposed to serve you, and proof is something you're constantly chasing and never quite catching. So, this is my own realization that I want to share with you. Here's the part I actually want to talk through with you today, because something clicked for me recently, and it wasn't from a podcast or a motivational video or somebody's quote. It was one of those quiet moments where the pieces of my own life finally started lining up and making sense. I started looking back over the years, the conversations I've had, and the people I've encouraged along the way, right? And the moments where somebody walked away from talking and I felt lighter and I felt better than when they walked in. And I've heard this from people over and over. You make people feel better, right? They tell me a lot. You help me believe in myself again. You always bring out the best in people. And for a long time, honestly, that kind of frustrated me, because in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, okay, but what about me, right? Why am I over here helping everybody else figure their life out, and why am I still trying to figure out mine? And I know that sounds completely selfish, but I'm being honest with you right now, and that's what this podcast is about. So, I really could not make sense of that for a long time, right? Until recently, when it finally clicked, and the puzzle finally came together. It was wild. It was amazing. I mean, I felt a rush, like I found my purpose, right? And what I realized is that my purpose was never just to succeed in some traditional sense. My purpose is to bring out the best in people, to help people remember who they actually are underneath all the noise, to encourage them, to remind them that they're capable of more than what they think, to notice the beauty in places other people walk right past. And not just in people either, in nature and animals, in the small ordinary moments most of us just rush and don't even see. That's who I've always been. I just never had the words before. And once I understood that, oh my God, so much of what used to frustrate me started making sense. And here's the part that changed everything for me. For years, I genuinely thought that helping other people meant I was losing something. Like I was pouring into everyone else's cup while mine sat there empty on the counter. But here's what I've come to believe instead: life works more like a mirror than a bank account. And what I mean by that is that what you consistently give away, you eventually become. Every time I encourage somebody, I'm actually strengthening that same thing in myself. Every time I help someone believe in themselves, I'm reminding myself of what's possible too. So I wasn't giving pieces of myself away this whole time. I was becoming more of who I am and who I was meant to be. So once I saw that, it changed how I looked at basically everything that I do. And that's why I started this podcast. Because maybe you're frustrated too, right? Maybe you've heard people throw around advice like, just find your purpose, or sitting on a shelf somewhere just waiting for you to walk and grab it. There's books, right? That is all about finding who you are, or, all the self motivational books that you have, which are great. I'm not saying anything about the books. Love to read. That's awesome. But That kind of advice used to make me want to scream sometimes. Just being honest, because my reaction was always great. How? Right? Like, where? What does purpose even look like when I find it? Nobody actually explains that part, because everybody has a different purpose. What somebody may find, enjoyable as a purpose, I may not like to do. And do I have to make myself like that to have a purpose or a passion, that somebody else says, okay, yeah, you know what, that's valid? No. But I didn't know what it was. I couldn't put it together to what it was, right? And it was frustrating. So, here's what I've learned instead. Purpose usually doesn't show up like a lightning bolt out of nowhere. Most of the time, it reveals itself by looking backward instead of forward. So here's a simple map to follow. If you're in that searching phase right now, here's some of the questions I'd sit with. Okay. What do people consistently thank you for? What do you find yourself doing even when nobody asked you to? What kinds of conversations leave you feeling energized instead of completely drained? What breaks your heart when you see it? What brings you real joy, not just a quick dopamine hit? And if money wasn't a part of the equation at all, how would you actually want to spend your days? And please, don't rush through those. Sit with them for a minute, a day, a week. Keep asking yourself until you get the answers. Your life has probably been dropping clues for years. You haven't been, looking at these clues. Sometimes you just kind of pass over them. But remember, purpose isn't something you go out and discover for the first time. Sometimes it's something you finally recognize, and it's always been there the whole time, in plain sight. So let's stop borrowing someone else's dream. One of the saddest things we can do in our own life is spending time chasing somebody else's definition of what success is supposed to look like. Maybe your purpose is building a business. Maybe it's raising incredible kids. Maybe it's teaching. Maybe it's creating something, anything. Maybe it's healing people. Maybe it's leading a team or a family or a community. Maybe it's making people laugh, when they need it the most. Maybe it's protecting others. Maybe it's something only you specifically, out of everyone on this planet, are wired to do. Nobody knows that but you. And I think that's the hardest part to do, but the most fulfilling part as well. And finding it, finding it, searching for it, and not just taking the route of this is what success looks like because everybody else says that. Because there isn't one right answer here, right? There are billions of them. And that's the most beautiful part. One for every single person alive. And that means the pressure that to match someone else's version of a good life was never actually ours to carry in the first place. So if becoming wealthy is genuinely part of your dream, then go build it. Enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with abundance. And I hope you get every bit of it. But please, don't chase wealth just because somewhere along the way you started believing it was the only life worth living. Because when your life actually lines up with who you really are, something shifts. You stop chasing somebody else's finish line and you start walking your own path instead. And that path feels completely different to walk. Here's what I want you to hold on to from today. The richest person in the room isn't always the one with the most money. Sometimes it's the one who actually is living the life they were meant to live. Thank you for spending this time with me today here at the Reinvention Room. Until next time, keep becoming, keep living with purpose, and fall in love with your life. I'll see you next time here in the Reinvention Room.